What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, the other day, Nintendo announced a series of game reveals. It'll be part of a holiday-themed event. It'll be running for the next couple of days, and it makes me think that one of my more anticipated games for the Switch will indeed still find its way into 2022, just right at the end. We'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Kojima and Death Stranding 2, as he talked a bit more about the sequel on his podcast that's leading to more questions than answers. And we'll also be talking about Epic Games, as they've agreed to pay a very large fine around what else but deceptive microtransactions. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're gonna start today with Sonic Frontiers and a very random demo that is being released on the eShop for the Switch. We can see this posted up by the game director for Sonic Frontiers saying, although it's later than intended, we now have a demo version available, but only for the Switch version. We are planning to distribute it to each region in order, so if you are still on the fence about purchasing the game, please give it a try. You will notice that it is different from past Sonic games and other open world games. There is still opportunity to make up your minds after you get a hands-on experience with the demo and see the game for yourselves. Now, this is rolling out in different regions, and it may be available in your region's eShop right now by the time you're seeing this. Otherwise, I would just keep an eye out over the next couple of days or so. And from what I've seen, based on people who have had a chance to try it, it's basically Sonic Frontiers, the opening with a 15-minute timer that's counting down. And I think really this is a way to at least give you an idea if you can put up with Sonic Frontiers on the Switch in terms of the pop-in, the frame rate, the resolution. It's not the prettiest game on the Switch. I mean, look, the pop-in is evident for all different versions, but the Switch, it's not exactly the best when it comes to visual quality and all of that. But if you were looking for a handheld experience for Sonic Frontiers, I would definitely check it out here on the demo and see what you think. Also, we did have an event announced yesterday that Digimon fans will want to keep an eye out for, especially when it comes to the game side of things. We can see this posted up over on their website. It's Digimon Con. This is it's going out to Digimon fans worldwide, streaming on YouTube on February 12th, 2023. They describe Digimon Con as a celebration of all things Digimon. They have some of the dates here, February 11th and 12th, so weekend there. And it's funny because it's out on YouTube and they have the participation fee as free, although you are responsible for your network connection fees. But they do talk about a few things that will be here, which includes new game information. Obviously, Digimon Survive being the last one. Will they have downloadable content for it? Will there be a brand new Digimon game that won't be more or less a visual novel with a light sprinkle of strategy RPG? They also mentioned things for the toys, cards, and anime, and apparently some live performances. So we'll see how that one goes. Just a couple of months into 2023, keep an eye out for Digimon Con. Oh, and we just talked about Assassin's Creed Jade yesterday, which was the mobile phone version of Assassin's Creed. It was gonna be in a big open world style game like the console versions of the game. And now it's just leaked out online. Someone just started to post it up and it started to make the rounds. And I will say it's pretty easy to find as people are just sharing the playtest link. It's under like a code name. I want to just make you aware and caution you a bit, because this is typically the way that you will have like malware and viruses and malicious content get out there through way of something like a playtest, as that's the number one concern that's being brought up whenever people talk about it is it safe to download here? And many people say it is, with like an email and all this. Again, I would just caution you on it, but the other part of this is more and more footage is getting out there. So even if you don't download it to play it, there's like 20-minute blocks of this game just getting posted all over the place. So you can at least get an idea as to how Assassin's Creed Jade could look in the future, as this is mostly a playtest for now. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Nintendo and an event they are currently hosting right now. It's going to be ongoing for the next couple of days, and it's going to work to introduce and apparently just shadow drop indie games. In fact, we have the first day already in the books, but let's take a look over on Twitter where they made the announcement for the event. They say, "Welcome to Inside the House of Indies holiday event. Join us each day from December 19th to December 23rd, 9 a.m. Pacific time, for a new video highlighting indie game updates, announcements, and more from our indie partners. If we go over to the page they have set up currently for day one, we can see some of the announcements they've made here. They say, welcome to day one of the Inside the House of Indies holiday event. Join us each day, 9 a.m. PT, and they have Floppy Nights. It's from Rose City Games. It's a tactics fuse with card game mechanics, and then Mortal Shell Complete Edition. This one surprised a lot of people to see this just kind of shadow drop. Like it seems to be available now. They say explore a deep action RPG that tests your sanity and resilience in a shattered world. They also have a couple of games to add to your wish list here with Roman Sands and Paparazzi. And I do like the idea of having several days where you tune in at noon Eastern for me, and you just see what kind of games they announce through way of a video, and some apparently will just shadow drop onto the eShop, which clearly means it's time for GoldenEye. GoldenEye's an indie game, isn't it? Okay, well, maybe not GoldenEye, but Hollow Knight Silksong, would you consider that an indie title that could release here? Again, that might still be regarded as a massive release and reveal for the date that they want to have in a Nintendo Direct, or hey, maybe Xbox even, as they showed it off there and then it was going to Game Pass. But the big one, and I expect it to be here because we're kind of running out of time, is Sports Story. That's still coming out in December, at least I believe it is, and there's, 11 days left. It seems like it would fit in nicely here as a complete shadow drop. So could be today, tomorrow, it could be up to the 23rd. They reveal it here as it just being available on the eShop, and that is exciting stuff. The only other thing I think might be kind of fun for them to do is, I don't know, maybe have it set up as a release for Christmas. They announce it here and then, hey, December 25th, it'll be available. Or they'll work to annoy me and say, hey, it comes out December 31st, the last possible day that it can come out to make 2022. But once again, I think the part about these indie showcases and events that Nintendo does is you genuinely don't know what to expect. And the fact that Mortal Shell just dropped onto the eShop as part of this event, it does kind of at least keep you a bit interested and realize it's not just going to be a bunch of really, really small games that you've never heard of before. And in fact, like I said, expect something like Sports Story to be part of this, and it might end up as like the big reveal at the end for the 23rd, or who knows, maybe it's Silksong or something else. Let me know what you would like to see here as part of this indie event or indie showcase. It's gonna be lasting the next several days. Next up, let's talk about Hideo Kojima and Death Stranding 2, which is a game that's already exploded online when it comes to speculation as to how he's gonna approach this sequel. Well, he did talk on his podcast, that's Brain Structure, which is an interesting name for a podcast, but he did at least give some hints for Death Stranding 2, and once again, it's opening up to more questions than answers. We can see this posted up. This transcribed over on psu.com, where he says, this is a sequel, so it's my second time working with Norman, and the technology has really improved over the last 3 years. Things that were impossible before are now possible, so we have been really challenging ourselves. It's not just a regular sequel in that sense. I can't say much yet. I believe a lot of people liked Sam, and I'm hoping those people return to Death Stranding 2, and in order to appeal to people who didn't play the first one, I've made the game nostalgic, but also new. I can't say any more than that right now, and again, this is interesting because you feel like Kojima wouldn't do Death Stranding 2 unless he was going to do a completely different approach to what he's now created here with this universe, as in the gameplay style should be different. I don't really see why. Okay, so the delivering in Death Stranding 1 went along with the theme of the game, which was making connections and essentially reconnecting the world, and that doesn't necessarily appear to be the direction they'll be taking Death Stranding 2, as they even asked that question, should we have reconnected at all? So I do kind of expect the gameplay maybe to go more in line of maybe a shooter style. It's hard to say because he's being very vague, obviously. But what he's saying are things that have improved over the last 3 years, and he can do different parts that were not possible just 3 years ago. I assume that is referring to the PlayStation 4 versus the PlayStation 5, which the biggest change, really, in terms of a gameplay aspect and be able to structure a game, would be around that solid state drive, having to work around that slow mechanical drive on the base PlayStation 4, because remember, Death Stranding had to be at least functional on that 2013 PlayStation 4. There could be all different things that we're not even thinking about that Kojima, who is still a very creative mind, for better or worse for people, depending on the way you look at something like Death Stranding and the gameplay, and what he's able to do around that SSD. And that's what I'm hoping here is, I don't think we've really seen what an SSD can do when it's developed for specifically with a game, as we're seeing a lot of cross-gen stuff, and I'm wondering if Kojima has something in mind that will give us that aha moment, and Death Stranding 2 is a way to get us there. I'm also hoping that he comes up with maybe, again, a different gameplay aspect that is not as controversial as Death Stranding 1, because I have grown to appreciate Death Stranding 1 more and more over the years, and I try to get people to at least attempt it, but the idea of it being this package delivery simulator at times is off-putting to people who aren't necessarily as interested in more of the slow burn of a game. Next up, let's talk about Epic Games and the fine they have now agreed to pay to the FTC for just over $500 million. We can head over here to VGC, where they say Fortnite maker Epic Games has agreed to pay over $500 million to settle a pair of complaints brought against it by the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. These are in two separate, as they say, record-breaking settlements, one being $275 million. That's a penalty for violating the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, that being COPPA, and $245 million to refund consumers tricked into making unwanted charges. Now, the first complaint had to do with them collecting personal information for Fortnite players under the age of 13 without notifying their parents or obtaining consent that's verifiable from a guardian. They also talked about the voice chat itself being enabled from the start that led to things like bullying, threatening, harassing, just all these different experiences that, let's face it, we know is front and center with a lot of these games, whether it's Call of Duty, Battlefield, Fortnite, Apex, any game that has that level of interaction between strangers online, you're probably going to run into it at some point. I do believe it's better, especially for a younger audience, if voice chat is just kind of left off by default, and then you go to turn it on and you yourself set it up as the default option. But the one that really has grabbed a lot of headlines has to do with the way that, well, a lot of these free-to-play games do work to have you purchase different things from them with microtransactions, kind of drive you in that direction. I mean, let's face it, these are free-to-play games. That's how they make their money. They say in a separate complaint, the FTC alleged that Epic used dark patterns and billing practices to trick players of all ages into making unwanted purchases and let children amass unauthorized charges without any parental involvement. They say players could be charged while attempting to wake the game from sleep mode while the game was in a loading screen, or by pressing an adjacent button while attempting simply to preview an item. The FTC goes on to claim that Epic ignored more than 1 million user complaints over the players being wrongfully charged, and also alleged that Epic locked the accounts of players who disputed unauthorized charges with their credit card companies. Now, Epic Games has accepted the terms of the settlements here from the FTC, going on to say no developer creates a game with the intention of ending up here. We accepted this agreement because we want Epic to be at the forefront of consumer protection and provide the best experience for our players. Over the past few years, we've been making changes to ensure our ecosystem meets the expectations of our players and regulators, which we hope will be a helpful guide for others in our industry. Well, that's one way to dress up the situation of just getting caught for something like deceptive practices as dark patterns being alleged by the FTC, which dark patterns, nothing new, been around for a long time. I'll give you an example of one that many people, some of you even have fallen for without even realizing it as you're going through the installation process of a new piece of software. And you kind of look down, you're checking through things. I accept, next, I accept. Oh, and you check this box that says you would like to install that new security suite that just comes packaged with it. Okay, and we go back through there. Third-party apps, you're not even thinking about it, you're just checking through, and then you get to the end and all this stuff's installing. It's a way to kind of deceptively get you to agree to it. They didn't do anything wrong technically because it's all there in front of you, but because they're lumping it together, it's one way that they can really coerce you into doing it. So that's something here, along with microtransactions, that is, of course, explored by these companies at length. That's the way they make their money, so they want to work to lean on you to buy these different things. I will admit, they're clearly targeting a younger audience here with Fortnite, as that is a big driving force for the game, and I'm sure the largest audience they have currently. And it's gotta be tough being a kid now, especially in school, as I've seen just myself anecdotally from nephews where they're talking about Fortnite, but they're talking about it in the sense that I gotta have that this new skin that's out, right? Whether it's for Marvel characters or whatever, they've done so many crossovers. And it's more of a status symbol at school, and like 10 or 11. Back then, for me, it was like, if you have the brand name sneakers or the clothes and stuff, you were part of the cool club. That was pretty easy to fix with a nice Sharpie and just an eye for the Nike logo. But now you gotta deal with Fortnite skins, you gotta deal with Instagram and social media and cell phones. Whew. Like I said, I don't envy the kids that are coming up now throughout grade school, high school, and all of this. But yeah, Epic Games clearly called out here by the FTC. Them agreeing to it tells me that they understand. They pushed up against that line a bit too far, went over it, backpedaling a little bit here, paying out $500 million. In our last bit of news, let's talk about the Atari VCS. Do you remember this system? It's kind of disappeared off the face of the earth when it comes to gaming news in general. And a lot of that has to do with just no one being interested. There not being big releases for it or any of that. And it appears that the sales for the system are reflecting that, which we can see this posted up by Little Puting. Atari says sales of VCS consoles and cartridges fell from $2.3 million euros in revenue to $0.2 million, primarily resulting from cartridge activity and underperformance by the VCS, which in turn means that they are shifting their strategy. They are suspending existing VCS manufacturing contracts, which, to be honest, just means they're kind of discontinuing the system in general. They said there's a new commercial strategy for the VCS and to launch a complementary hardware strategy via partnerships under licensing agreements, which probably means they're looking to make accessories, controllers, joysticks, maybe doing ports of different games, that sort of thing. And they also brought up the idea of things like NFT initiatives, blockchain-related projects. All right, well, good luck with that one. We'll see how that goes. But again, not shocked that the Atari VCS is all but discontinued now. It was interesting in the run-up. I didn't even think it would come out, so I have to give them credit for at least shipping a product as undercooked as it was then and as unappealing as it is now. But hey, if you happen to get one, put it on the shelf as a collector's piece, because it could be something to look back on 15 to 20 years from now as Atari's attempted console revival that didn't work out so well. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, have you played Death Stranding? 10% said they beat the game, 16% said they have not finished the game yet or before. I know many people who just dropped the game after like 5 or 10 hours or something. 23% said, no, I'm planning on playing it eventually. And then 51% said, no, I'm just not interested. And it's a very divisive game. I get it. The gameplay style is it's just not going to appeal to everyone out there, like most games, but this one definitely had people split. So that's one of the reasons I'm curious about Death Stranding 2 and how that will play, because obviously Kojima heard the noise around Death Stranding, got a lot of feedback, and curious to see what direction he takes the sequel in. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Camel saying, my issue with the release of the Pixel Remaster Collection isn't the price. It isn't even the way they announced it. It's the fact they made it a limited release. Why even do that? They sold out in under an hour. Can you imagine how much they would have sold had they had an open pre-order? Square Enix hasn't been making very good business decisions as of late, and it's only hurting them and the fans. Yeah, that is a little odd. The fact that they were so stuck to that $75 price point that they had on sale on Steam, it just apparently it had to reflect on the physical copy for their console versions. Come on, if they took this, just put it out there normally, published it, put it in stores, physical copy, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, the way they just have it set up now, $60 a piece, that easily 1 million sold physically. No questions asked, at least I don't think anyway. I know people will look at it and be like, well, I can just get the ROMs and stuff, but not everyone necessarily wants to do that. And they're dealing with a fan base with Final Fantasy where they just like to collect the physical goods and memorabilia and all that stuff. It just seems like a slam dunk. So I guess I'm not too shocked that Square kind of messed it up at the goal line. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. There's Nintendo and their indie event that'll be going over the next couple of days. What games would you like to see revealed and even released on the same day? And then also, what about Hideo Kojima and Death Stranding 2? What kind of direction do you think he takes the sequel in? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.